In this video, I'm going to show you a quick assessment to check in on the mobility and coordination of your toes. And then I'm going to instruct you in how to do some toe yoga. And then we're going to recheck to see if we made any progress. So start by standing with your feet under your hips and see if you can lift your big toes up on their own. That's an isolated big toe extension. And then see if you can put the big toe down and lift the little toes up. Try that a few times. And if you have a really hard time with that, you can see what happens if you hold down the little toes with your hand or with your opposite foot, and then try to lift up your big toe like that. And you can do the same thing, hold down the big toe and lift up just the little toes. And then a more advanced coordination drill or assessment would be to lift up one toe at a time and then lower down one toe at a time. Okay, and for toe yoga, we're going to start by interlacing our fingers between our toes by shaking hands with our foot. So sit in a way that you can reach your foot and your toes. So you may need to sit on a chair, a couch. Of course, sitting on the floor will require some more hip mobility. And in the chair or on the couch, if you still have a hard time reaching your foot, that's a sign to work on more hip mobility. So we're going to start by interlacing our fingers between our toes. And then you just work your fingers through as far as you can. So some people might just be working on getting the very tips of their fingers in between the toes. And then if you can work your fingers all the way through so that you're holding like that, then you can start shaking hands with your foot. So I'm going to squeeze my foot with my hand and squeeze my hand with my foot. And just squeeze for a few seconds as tolerated. You don't have to squeeze real hard. This can be pretty painful to people who don't have a lot of space between their toes. I still remember the first time I did this. It was quite uncomfortable. So just meet yourself where you're at and do what you can tolerate. So you do that a few times to tolerance, and then hold onto your foot with the opposite hand and make some circles. You do a few circles in one direction and then switch directions. So you go clockwise and counterclockwise while holding your foot still with this hand, or else what you end up doing is like just doing that and you don't get as much. This is more of ankle mobility, which you can also do, but holding the foot still and making circles with your toes zones in on your toe mobility. And then you can squeeze a couple more times. It might be getting easier, hopefully. And next we'll do toe splits. So hold on to your big toe and the second toe, and you're gonna do a little toe split. So you extend the big toe back and then you bring the second toe forward into a little split again, as tolerated. This shouldn't be very painful. It might feel like a stretch, a little discomfort, but not pain. And then switch. You do that a couple times. And then spread your toes away from each other. And then you're going to switch to the second and third toes, and you do your toe splits a couple times, and then away from each other a couple times. And then you move on to third and fourth, and fourth and fifth. You could go slower than this. I just don't want to take too much time showing that. Okay. And then you switch sides. Interlace your fingers between your toes. Work those through as far as you can get them. Squeeze your foot with your hand and squeeze your hand with your foot. Hold a few seconds. Do that a few times. Hold on to your foot and make your circles. Do a few counterclockwise and a few clockwise. And then do your toe splits So you're going to do the first and second toes, the second and third, third and fourth, and the fourth and fifth. And once you're done doing all your toe yoga, then we can check in and see if we have better control of our toes. So you can lift the big toes a few times. If it's easier to do 1 foot at a time, go ahead and do that. And lift your little toes and alternate. And see if you can lift 1 toe up at a time and lower. And I just want to explain something. If it's really hard to move your toes, and if they're really scrunched together and they want to move as a unit all together, this toe yoga, yes, is one thing that can help, but it's also hugely helpful to train your foot to ground through the proper tripod, your big and little toe knuckles and your heel, and to make both your high arched and low arched foot shapes on that tripod, because what that does, it helps your foot to do its job better, so then the toes are less likely to be digging into the ground and helping you all the time. So the tripod and the supination and pronation work and connecting those foot shapes to what you're doing in your legs and in your spine and even up to your arms, that is a really important factor when you don't have good control of your toes. But this toe yoga drill is a nice simple drill to add into the mix. It's something you could do when you're watching TV. It's just a good little drill that can help you move in the right direction, but it doesn't replace the other work that we're doing.